How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, we are Melanie
and Ian
from ET Connections on YouTube and mountain-gate.com.
And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma.
Catch us on YouTube and hit like and subscribe. We'll see you there.
Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma. Welcome to today's show. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one today, that's for sure. That's for sure. I hope you guys are doing well out there. Today, we're going to tell a pretty cool story in Norway, 1954. But before we get going, I'd just like to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast, your number one podcast out there as far as extraterrestrials, UFOs, supernatural, Bigfoot, and the unknown, right? And we're great for explaining ufology as well, right? We're like a big classroom sometimes because I like to teach a lot of things about ufology. Now, a lot of my past podcasts, the one last week, it was a video. So if you have a chance, go back and check that out. You can go to our Patreon, go look at it there, or you go to our YouTube or our Rumble page. Go follow us there, and you'll find all the episodes that I've been doing as far as presentations. Yes, I give you presentations, videos, and stuff. I know the one I just did before this one, I'm talking in the background, I'm showing about the cows, cattle mutilations, things like that. You have to see these videos. You definitely have to see these videos because, the videos are showing you what's happening in the background as I'm talking or explaining about the story or what's going on as it's happening, as it's unfolding, right? That's what it's about, man. But anyway, if you're new to ufology, welcome to ufology. Yes. Like I said, I'm your host, Donald Ledesma. I have about 26 to 28 audio platforms of podcasts, right? I've been doing this since 2019, yes, and I loved what I do, right? I love everything I do. Don't forget to catch our middle of the movies. Check those out on Amazon Prime, on Fossum. It's on Tubi TV. We're everywhere, man. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. Go check those out, man, and give me a thumbs up if you can on any of those films when you watch them, or just leave a nice comment or a review about those on your Amazon Prime. If you've watched 1, 2, or 3, those are on Amazon Prime. You can see all those right there. You can leave a review right afterwards on your phone app. I really appreciate that, and even on, let's see, Plex. If you have Plex TV, you can actually leave a review there as well. So, and it helps with the disclosure. It helps get the film out there to more people. And, even if you're watching for free, that's okay. That's okay. We're not here to make $1 million. No. We're just here to show the disclosure and teach people of everything that's been happening out there in our skies, below our feet, and everywhere in the middle, because we are living in the middle. That's what these films are about. Yes, hello. Anyway, but of course, we've been talking a lot this last one about cattle mutilations, right? We dug in deep into that one, and I tried to explain as much as I could on that and why, right? So. And I didn't mean to scare the crap out of people, but yes, it does happen, right? It's not one of those things. Like I said, here in Alien Strand, we're showing you and we're teaching you the awareness of extraterrestrials. And yes, I know it kind of conflicts because I have a CE5 book. Yeah, I know that. But that's if people are interested in seeing or communicating with UFO crafts from a distance, right? And that book is a guide to show you how to do that as far as contact, communicating, if you're into that sort of realm or if you're an enthusiast of that sort of CE5. So go check out my book, Frequencies of Contact, on Amazon Prime. You'll see it there as well. I dropped the price on that, $2.99. Can't beat it. You can go to your Kindle, download it there as well. Or you can go to our Patreon. You can get it there. There's one there where I'm selling with the book signed by me, and you even get a hardcover book, and you'll also get a digital copy for yourself. So go check that out on Patreon. Sign up for free. You don't have to pay the member, but sign up for free. There's a lot of goodies there for you to download as well. All right, man. So as our skies are getting crazier and crazier, and the process of the awakening moments that people are having and going through daily is something that is deep, and it goes deep inside the psyche as far as I hate to say it this way, but sometimes folks do get a post-traumatic stress disorder from the encounter, because they're trying to understand exactly what took place at that certain time, right? And when you do that, your mind can't, comprehend exactly what's happening at that given time and moment, right? As it's in front of you, I'm talking a UFO, an extraterrestrial, or just maybe a spiritual being or an interdimensional being, right? And they've categorized those as extraterrestrial contact, or which was the original term. And now we have, of course, we're starting to lean more towards the interdimensional contact. If you notice that on many podcasts, YouTubes, Joe Rogan, all these other platforms out there are actually calling it interdimensional contact now. Yes, because it's the extraterrestrial. The hard part about that is that the proving factor of seeing the extraterrestrial, even though we have videos, yes, and the physical evidence is the hardest part. Do we have the answers to everything? No, we don't. Will we ever have the answers? I don't know. Maybe, but at least we can point you in the right direction into find what you're looking for, or try to understand what you've seen or have experienced, even in a post-traumatic stress level, or not even at that, even just at a moderate level, as far as your ability to comprehend, as far as like a nervousness, a tick of some sort, to where you're not getting scared or too nervous about it. There's people that don't. Right? There's a lot of folks out there that don't. It's just they're just trying to, okay, let's try to look at this scientifically, right? They do have that mentality, right? And that's not wrong to do it that way, because hey, we have to look at the different angles of extraterrestrial contact, UAP contact, UFO contact, right? And whatever you want to call it, they've already taken us away from UFO. We already know that because it's old and it makes you sound like a tinfoil hat. Now it's UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or it just, they keep changing the names to make it sound better and more sophisticated. I get it, right? And it's, as everything else, it changes and evolves, right? So they're trying to change the name of UFO, UAP. Why? Because there's so many people involved in it now. Too many people now. For me, I've been seeing so much podcasts on it, so many films, so many documentaries. There's a whole bunch out there. Many films now. If you go to Tubi TV, Fossum, Amazon, just about any app, they even have special apps out there to watch these films on UFOs. There's a special UFO channels and stuff where you can see that. Even on our Skylight 1 channel, you can still see that channel on web TV. We still have that going. As a matter of fact, I just programmed it today. So we do have some films playing on there as well. So go check those out. But the thing is that we're trying to get you to understand what exactly you're seeing and how to understand it in your mind, right? And to just kind of wrap yourself around why me, or what is this thing? Is it physical? Is it non-physical? Is it interdimensional? Can I touch it? Can I not touch it? If I touch it, will I get sick and die? Right? Because we've heard about that Peru story, right? You've seen the documentary out there for that. And it's, of course, and I've talked about it in my past podcast, maybe last year, the year before, about how it's against the law to not put your hands on these extraterrestrials or even touch them, because some people have gotten sick and have died from the pathogens that coming off of it. It's the biological tissues. We don't know what you don't know what you're touching, right? And so be careful on that point if you happen to find yourself in that situation, right? So and it's the to me it's kind of scary, but if you think about it, if you ever meet one or in front of an actual extraterrestrial or interdimensional being or an energy being of some sort, it's kind of hard to want to not to touch it, right? It's one of those things that your mind's just kind of telling you no, don't do it, but your other thought process and I want to make sure it's real, right? So there is no really wrong or right answer. It's just you're just rolling the dice at that point, right? For yourself. If you are in a physical presence of an extraterrestrial, I'm not talking about in a sleep state or in your subconscious when you're asleep. No, I'm talking about in a live physical presence, right? And this does happen to people from time to time. Now, and I wanted to explain a little bit of that today because I've been watching a few podcasts on that, and it's just kind of it gets me thinking about extraterrestrials and who they are and what they're about, and why not be careful, right? We have to be careful because, like they say, you got to be careful what you wish for, right? On some instances. Now, are they tricksters? Maybe. Right? We've seen how they can manipulate many things in your mind, right? Make you see visions or catastrophic events that are happening around us, right? Or something that's going to happen in the future. They're kind of a scare tactic, right? And this is what you're doing to your planet. This is what's going to happen. Well, when you first meet somebody, just think about this for a second. When you first meet somebody, and they shake your hand, you say hello. I'm talking about human to human. And right away, if somebody starts talking to you, starts telling you about the end of the world, this is going to happen and blah, 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 and they start scaring the crap out of you, are you going to continue on standing there? Probably not, right? So that's not much of an introduction to an extraterrestrial and human contact. So you got to think about that for a second, right? Just think about that. Does it make sense to you? I don't know. It just, it does not make sense to me at that point. But to keep them at a distance is what I always preach about, about extraterrestrials, UAPs, anything of the unknown, even Bigfoot, man. Don't get too close. They're very territorial, right? But that's just another podcast. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to America's Podcast.
All right, welcome back. So we were talking about the extraterrestrial contact and what happens during a meeting, right, of some sort. Well, there's a story out here which happened in Norway in 1954. Okay. And Norway is a beautiful country, right? It's a beautiful place where a lot of people go to, to vacation and everything like that. It's just gorgeous out there, right? I don't know if you've seen pictures of it, but man, it's just breathtaking. And of course, it's known for skiing and of course their nature, their beautiful mountains and forests. But they also have a lot of UFO sightings, right? And most are known worldwide, right? And because they talk about these lights that they're seeing up in the sky, which is the phenomenon that might take more of a physical form of some sort, right? So these girls witnessed a black orb, right, as they were walking that day. So in the afternoon of November 23rd, 1954, Anne Stordahl, who was 10 years old at the time, and her sister, Tora, was 9 years old. And Tora May Hudge, another friend, was 9 years old, and they're on their way home from school. This was late autumn. And there was already a little bit of snow on the ground. As these three girls walked, and they walked on a small gravel road through the forest area. So as they're walking, they're looking up and they're approaching these power lines, right? And they just kind of look up, and one of the girls sees this little black dot high up in the sky, they say. And they say they could see the object was descending towards them at a high rate of speed. They said because it quickly became bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So which means it's approaching them. The girls thought it was an airplane or a helicopter at first. But some seconds later, they could see something that looked very shiny, like a black sphere. Almost like what we see today in the skies, or what people are recording now in 2025. But you got to remember, this is 1954. So they say the object was not very far from them, and it moved slowly towards them over the treetops. It said it knocked down a little bit of snow off of the top of the trees and continued to go towards the power lines. The three girls were on the road. They were shocked and terrified at the same time. And saw how the black sphere has now moved down towards them just about 4 or 5 feet from their heads. So imagine that. Imagine how close that is. They gave the following weird description and said it looked like stone or a ball trimmed with yellow spots, which could have been made of glass. There was also a number of small red lights and sharp, jagged edges. The girls also tell about how the upper part was transparent. They could see through it. And the trees could be seen through it as well. Then they said there was a human being visible inside, operating a control stick of some sort. He was witnessed in a black and had big eyes. He was dressed in black and had really big eyes. Covered by a pair of immense red glasses or goggles, they said. When the being turned around to look at them, the girls froze with terror. Just imagine that. Suddenly, the sphere rose again with a droning sound, and it went its way upwards. The object hit one of the power lines, and a shower of sparks erupted everywhere as they heard the pop. The girls had came to their senses and started running for their lives in the opposite direction with their backs to the sphere. They said they could smell the odor, which they later described as fried sausages. The girls ran in fear almost the entire way home. Now remember, they're 9 and 10 years old. And at that point, you have to try to figure out what are they going to tell their parents, or would they tell their parents when they got back after seeing a sphere coming towards them, high rate of speed, going over the power lines, shiny, and then 4 feet above their heads as they can see through it and see someone inside, right? That is something hard to muster inside your brain for anyone. So Ann and Tor's mother was at the house, and she was cleaning the floor when she saw the girls running in around 3 o'clock p.m. She immediately saw that something was wrong. The girls were terrified, and she asked them what was wrong. The girls explained that they saw a big black stone coming down from the sky with an evil man inside and stared at them with big red eyes. It took several days before the parents got the whole story of what happened from the shocked girls. You could just imagine that. At that age, I'm sure they had a hard time trying to sleep. I've explained this many times just about myself of seeing something like that. It would probably terrify me as an adult, right? So imagine seeing something like that as a child. And you got to remember, stories like these, when something happens to you that has transformed you in a sense of traumatic, you'll always remember. Anything traumatic, you'll remember. Everything that falls in between as a childhood up to now, even yourself, if you think about it, you only remember the traumatic things and the good things that have happened in your life. As a child, like going to a fair, going on a boat ride, or going to a different country or a different state, right? Those things you'll remember. Or even if you saw an accident, a horrible one, you will remember that. So a couple of days later, some of the adults from the village were searching the sighting area, and under the power lines, they found a 75-foot long trail as if something had been dragged along the ground. A lieutenant from the Army also came to take pictures, and a UFO investigator. Oddvar J. Larson was contacted as well, as he took photographs of the trail. Larson always recorded this. In the snow, was found and photographed at a disturbed track around 25 yards long, presumably made by the craft after the girls had turned their backs on it. He also conducted in separate interviews with the three girls that they all told him the same story. And everyone in the village who knew the girls were convinced that they were telling the truth. Now, did something strange happen that afternoon, or did the girls just make this up and created a 75-foot trail? I think not. They don't know, this says, but according to the mother, the two sisters have never seen the girls so afraid before. And that's the traumatic part of this story. It's something that they will never, ever forget because of how close this extraterrestrial craft was. Now, what did it want? And that's the thing, right? And why? And if it was, when they saw it, it was just a speck in the sky. So it knew it had been seen, right? And this is what I talk about all the time, how we are the antenna. It connects to you. It knows when it's being watched. How does it do that from hundreds of miles, or maybe 20 miles, or 30 miles, or maybe 100 miles in the sky? Well, let's just say less, even 5 miles up in the sky is pretty high. How do they know you're looking at it? And it came right down to where they were. And then goes 4 feet above their heads. So it automatically knew that it was being watched. Now, this is 1954. And we always seem to think that we're only seeing these spheres now today, right? More than ever. Because why? We have cell phones that have amazing cameras. Some of them do. Not all of them. But we're starting to catch more and more activity as these spheres are coming across the sky. At first, in the 1940s and 50s, everything was focused on the saucer shape of that craft. So everything you saw in the movies and the films back then was a flying saucer, right? Looked like two plates on top of each other. So of course, all the films were about flying saucers. But here we're talking about an orb, what we're seeing today, right? And this happened in 1954. That's what, 89 years from now that happened? So, what do we get from all of this, right? It's the fact that wherever you are, whatever country you are, this could happen to anybody anyone at any time. You don't necessarily have to call it. Sometimes you'll be there at the right place at the right time. And if you are, imagine if those girls back then had the technology that they have today. Most 10-year-olds, 11, will carry a cell phone right now. So imagine if they would have grabbed that on video back then. Wow, that would have really been something to see, especially during that timeline, as it's explained to all of us in this story. And that's the difference, that really in reality nothing makes a difference between the two times, even being 89 years from now that this occurred. The same object is still coming here today. Let's take a quick break. Hear from our sponsors. We're back in just a minute.
Alien Strand Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying this content. If you do, give me a thumbs up, like, heart. If you're on Spotify, leave a comment. Yeah. So as we were talking about this story in 1954 and how these little girls had to adjust themselves after seeing something like this, you know, there are cases of many cases in that year still, right? Not just in that general area, but there was some in different areas in 1954 of different kinds of crafts, right? And which they were reporting to the Central Intelligence Agency, which is the CIA at the time, because this is all they had. We didn't really have anything else because you had to, because they didn't know if there was an enemy of some sort, right? So we had one in France on April 15th, 1954. Two residents of St. Mexen of Courage Department observed an elongated, cone-shaped object with two red and green lights at the base, flying at high altitudes from the northwest towards the southwest. And then 10 days later in Istanbul, on April, 1954, a group of persons taking a walk near Serre in the region that was close to, I'm trying to read this. Francis Borda observed a cigar-shaped object traveling rapidly at an altitude of 2,000 meters in the direction of Spain. So we're still talking the same year, 1954, right? They were still having these activities. We just didn't know about it because these reports are actually just started becoming were released, really, in reality. They just released a lot of this stuff. In other words, they declassified a lot of this aerial phenomenon, I guess we're going to call it that, reports, right? But why hide it? That's my thing. They were hiding it back then. They didn't want people to I guess, think that you were crazy of some sort for seeing something like that. Even in France, on April 15, 1954, two residents, we read that already. But even in Sweden, there was, on the morning of 13th of May, 1954, three persons in three different areas of the province of Sweden observed a brilliant silver-colored sphere with a tail. And that's pretty much what we're starting to see everywhere today, right? And I have in my hand possibly maybe 100 or maybe less than that of these reports. And I will put this report on as so you can see them for yourself and read them for yourself. They'll be on Patreon and to download. And they'll be here as well. I'll put a link to it as well. So you guys can read through these articles, these CIA documents that have been released, right? To show you that a lot of this activity was happening under people's noses. And yet, we didn't know about it, right? And that's the hush-hush moments that we always think about. Because back then, we put a lot of trust in the governments and the military-industrial complex to secure each sovereignty country, right? Each country trusts their government to keep them safe, right? From harm, foreign, domestic, or even from an extraterrestrial intelligence coming from a different world or a different star system, right? And because of these documents, they made new rules in place to stop people from not just reporting, but people were still reporting because they wanted to know, but at the same time, they wanted to make sure people didn't get too close, like I talked about before. And people were just reporting a lot of this, like I said, just to be safe because they trusted their government. Now, do you do that this time around in this year, this date of age? I think not. We've been trying over and over to get the answers from the industrial complex, and we can never get a straight answer, ever. So, to me personally, this is just my personal opinion, but I think that they will never give up the information ever. It's something that we are going to continue on guessing and trying to understand and work our hardest as citizen ufologists to figure out the truth, right? And really, in reality, all we really want to know is, are these things real? Are they interdimensional or are they extraterrestrial, right? Or are they just in our star system? I heard a gentleman talking today about how the next Andromeda star system is probably about 20 light years or 40 light years from here. And even at light speed, the speed of light, it would take him a few thousand years to get there and back. So just think about that for a minute. If that calculation is true, then these extraterrestrial craft cannot go that way and make it back as fast, right? So maybe they've been here the whole time. Maybe we're the extraterrestrial. And the answers of the beginning of humans or human intelligence is something that we're going to be pondering on for the rest of our lives until we close our eyes, right? And go to wherever we're going afterwards. Then we'll know the answers to everything at that point. But it would sure be good to know now. That way we can stop guessing. But what would happen if one were to land, or two, or hundreds were to land and wanted to just blend in and mix? What would happen to the extraterrestrial programs, the contact, everything that we're doing here today would probably disappear. Or we would look at it as getting more intelligence from these extraterrestrials if they are friendly. But if they are foe, then we're going to get all the wrong answers. Because if they wanted to take over our world, Earth, they could have done it a long time ago. They have the technology to do it. But it just seems like they're just being the observer. And we're the zoo, where they're just watching, picking us up one by one every once in a while, doing tests on people. And studying humans, right? So think about this. A lot of people out there, there's a few out there that think that the extraterrestrials made human beings, that we come from their DNA, they are us in the future. If that was true, and this is just my personal opinion, but if that were true, then why abduct us? Why take our blood? They should already have all of that, right? Why do all the things that they do to human beings or cows? Hello, right? So I don't see that as that connecting the dot as far as the extraterrestrial, the gray, the lizard, the reptilian, or the insectoid type of extraterrestrial that people are seeing out there. So in that sense, when people say that, it doesn't connect the dots with me personally. And I've interviewed a lot of people and have talked to hundreds of people about their encounters, right? And at least more than half are confused about the whole ordeal than they are of wanting to know who they are, where they came from, or telling us the secrets of life, or the secrets of the human being, of who we are. We never get a straight answer, right? And that's why I called most of these tricksters, because that's what they are. I see more of a foe than a friendly. So we have to really understand their agenda and everything, what they're about or why, before we want to shake hands with them or get any information from them. And that's the hardest thing to comprehend for any human being as far as your life, the life cycle. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Still a question today that they can't figure out. And how does it happen? How did it happen from just one from an asteroid came and crashed into the earth when it was a blob? After it hardened, it made the earth water. I'm sure it took millions, probably 1 billion years for the earth to form to what it is. Could it have been the evolution of biological? A living organism that was floating in space that landed and crashed and started the seed of life, right? So then there would probably be many, many human beings out there, because they say that at the moon at one time hit the earth and then it stayed in that orbit. So there's still like a lot of fragments. If you pick up any dirt or and you get it analyzed, they're going to find small traces of the moon. So these are the deepest parts of the life and the trust in the extraterrestrial and why. We're still trying to figure out why. And that's the deep, deep question. That's the $200 question. Who are these things and why are they here? And the only good thing I get out of the story in 1954 in Norway is that they didn't abduct any of the children, right? They got away, which is the great part about this. Because as I talked about in a previous podcast about the cattle mutilations, that a lot of these children don't come back. They come out missing, right? And that's the scary thing. But we always have to keep ourselves aware of our surroundings and things that happen. So they did the right thing. They're turning around and running. That was the right thing to do. As an adult, you can make a decision whether you want to stay or run, right? So these are the things you have to try to figure out at the point to where you're standing in front of an extraterrestrial, or you're communicating with an extraterrestrial, or even the UFO. Or the UAP, whatever you want to call it these days. And that's the depth of this story. And there was a good outcome that came from it as well. I wish I would have known what had happened to them after, or even if they're still alive today. You know, of course, they'd be old, or 90 or 100 years old already, because they were 9 and 10 at the time. So this is what we have to try to wrap our minds around and understand, that these stories and these events did occur, and they were documented. And like I said, you will find these documented pieces that I will attach here. Go to all my links as well, and go look at all those links as well if you want to follow Alien Strand Podcast. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. It was my absolute pleasure. I hope you learned a little bit, and it got a little deep there, but hey, it's okay. It's okay. Just gets you thinking, because this is my mind as it goes 100 miles an hour, too. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. Don't forget, follow us on 2829 platforms of audio podcasts. You can catch our video presentations on YouTube and on Rumble. We are no longer on Facebook, but we do have a Twitch page as well. So if you're on Twitch, go look for us there. You'll see our videos there as well. We have pretty good video presentations. Go to all my links. You'll see our Patreon page. Go join for free. Or do the paid one. You'll get some pretty good goodies as well. I really enjoyed today's podcast and telling you these stories. I got more to come. So I hope you guys are just having an amazing day. Like I said, follow us on 2829 platforms. If you like this podcast today, give me a thumbs up. If you're on Spotify, throw me a comment on there that you enjoyed this podcast. Or even on iHeartRadio, you know, you can even ask Alexa. She'll play some Alien Strand podcast. Yes, she will. That's right. Because that's what we're about. Disclosure. Disclosure starts with respect in you, right? Remember, don't troll these pages. We're here to help. If you want to contact me, you'll see all my contact information there. You have a story you want to get on the podcast, give me a call. Send me a message on Facebook as well. I'm there as well. And just hang in there, man. Keep your eyes in the skies. All right, guys. Everybody have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Alien Strand Podcast.
You want to learn about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact? Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.